Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Chela Time, the podcast where a bunch of dudes talk about stuff with chelas in hand and our dicks in hand.
Oh,
My name
I
is
wouldn't.
Pedro.
Hey guys, my name's Cesar.
My name is Diego.
Hey yo, I am Joel.
Sick, dude. What are you guys eating tonight?
I had some tacos with the beer,
What kind of
and
tacos, bro?
I don't know. That's the weird part. I looked at the meat, and I like it looked like carne asada tacos, but it didn't taste or feel like carne asada tacos.
Oh, that's
So
gross.
and
What
me
does it feel
being me,
like?
bro, it was squishy, bro.
Human
Like me
liver.
being me, yeah. Who knows? Me being me though, I was like,
It's
le echo
some
salsa a la
tripa.
chingada.
It's some
No,
tripa.
bro. Listen, bro. I know what tripa is, and I fucks with tripa, bro.
We
That
talk
was
about
not
tripa
tripa.
all the time.
Yeah, bro. I fucking love tripa, bro. All right. When you fry them, bro. Gozo. But nah, bro. This was squishy. It looked like carne asada, but it didn't taste or feel like carne asada. But I just doused it in a whole bunch of sauce and put some cilantro, like raw cilantro in there. And I just fucking munch on that.
That's how you do it.
Well, I simply had some quesadillas doradas and some beans. That was all.
That sounds healthy, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I ate. So I ordered pizza because I'm a little under the influence in celebration of this podcast recording, and I have eaten about 3/4 of my large pizza from Domino's. So I don't know if that's
Jesus
a good thing.
Christ.
I don't know if that's a good thing or bad thing.
I
I
mean,
hope it's a good thing.
I'm pretty sure a lot of people listening to this are probably saying, "Oh, I could take down like 2 pizzas by myself, easy peasy."
Yeah, and
Yeah,
that's
bro.
not anything to be proud of, by the way. If
When
you're thinking that,
when you actually have that pizza in front of you and you have like two or three full pizzas in front of you, you're like, I'm about it. I hate how people say, oh, I could eat a whole pizza by myself. Maybe you can, but like, Jesus Christ, bro, that's a lot of fucking food.
exactly. Like, is that really going to be good for you? I
Yeah,
doubt
right.
it.
Like, what
Exactly.
are you trying to prove, my guy?
There was a point where I was ordering pizzas almost like every single week, and I was downing like quarters of the pizzas. Um, but nah, I've never to this day I've never finished a whole box of pizza by myself. So I find and I eat a lot, dude. Like I can munch, so I find it really hard to believe that anyone else can finish a whole damn pizza.
When I lived with my mom still, because I live in my own apartment now. When I lived with my mom, my stepfather would always order like 2 pizzas per week, like every Friday. It was like tradition because he was born and raised in New York, and his parents were from Italy, so obviously pizza is like in his blood. So it was like, okay, yeah, every Friday, like he gets home from work, right? Like, hey, do you guys want pizza? Of course. He orders the pizza, and it's like he would get a large cheese and a large pepperoni without fail. And also without fail, I would eat like half of that pepperoni pizza. And so I was speaking to my younger sister, and she's like, yeah, it's crazy because now that pizza lasts for like 2 weeks because nobody eats it.
Dude, that's sad.
Fuck,
And
Diego.
it's like before I would just eat like 4 slices in one go. I'd eat like half that pizza right then and there. I felt so bad. I was like, hey, you know what though? That's good. I'm glad to know that you guys don't have to buy as much pizza because of me now.
And now the pizza just sits there getting stale, no one to eat it.
Seriously, yeah, they're just like, because she's like, I can't eat this much.
Joel mentioned quesadillas, and then actually, me and my dad we were talking about that because my mom made quesadillas like the other day, and I was telling my dad, I was like, "Yo, you should see." He was like, "Hey, I want a quesadilla," and I was like, "Oh, I think my mom stopped making them, but I can go buy you one like at Filiberto's or something." And I'm like, "What type of quesadilla do you want?" And he looks at me and he's like, "The fuck did you say?" I'm like, "What type of quesadilla do you want?" And he's like, "Bro, quesadillas just have cheese in them." And I'm like, "No, see, there's like carne asada quesadillas, pretty much any goddamn meat you could stuff in a quesadilla."
He's like, wait, you
And
just mean a taco?
yes,
Basically.
yeah, yeah. And he's like, yeah. So he looked at me. He's like, so you're giving me a fucking taco with cheese? I'm like, no, look, listen, dog. It's a quesadilla de carne asada. He's like, no, like, and he kept on going back and forth. He's like, listen, I don't want none of your bullshit creations. I just want a quesadilla, dog.
He's gonna lose his shit once he finds like an Instagram page that just posts food.
Yeah, and just to piss him off, I was like, "Hey, you wanna quesadilla tamal or you want a torta tamal?"
No, I'm completely on your side, Caesar. It's like listen, I understand what you want, but I'm telling you that there is a creation that is what we both want.
Right?
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like there's too much food. There's too much food and there's too many combinations. Excuse me. That it's hard to choose from like just one thing.
Yeah, but I feel like some people do overdo it, like people that try to make the next trend, because I feel like that's what everyone's doing right now. I literally have seen a hamburger. I don't know what order it was, but it was a hamburger, I think, inside of a pizza or a pizza inside of a hamburger. And I'm
Like a
just like,
pizza hamburger.
yeah, some bullshit like that. I'm like, shut the fuck up, okay? Like, stop doing this. I know what you're trying to do. It's not gonna work. This is just like screaming heart disease to me, and just stop.
I
Yeah.
made. You're gonna hate me, Caesar, because I'm like, when was it? Like two
Oh
years
God.
ago. 2 years ago, I was messing around with. I was ordering, Domino's online, like I usually do, and you can choose Alfredo sauce instead of marinara. And
Ugh.
I love chicken Alfredo. I like to a passion. I love chicken Alfredo. And so I was like, man, what if I made this pizza taste like chicken Alfredo? So toppings, I put bacon and chicken because they don't have broccoli. And from there, I every time I order Domino's, I always order a small of those because it's the best thing in the world to me. It's basically chicken Alfredo was a pizza.
So it's essentially a pizza with chicken and bacon instead of tomato sauce. It's Alfredo sauce.
Yes,
Yeah, yeah, bro.
So
That's
it,
I
it sounds gross, but it's
I
great.
I've never tried it, Pedro, but I have always wanted to. But I've never been in a position where it's like, okay, I'm gonna order this pizza with Alfredo sauce. But it's one of those things where it's like it's an interesting concept in theory, but because Alfredo sauce, the it's stop, its consistency, its consistency is already based in cheese. If you're adding cheese on top of that, it
Jesus.
becomes too much. You know what I mean?
The oil,
And
bro.
that's what I thought too. That's I normally don't add. Oh, and get this, they add more cheese on top. So like, don't think you're missing on the cheese. You're absolutely right, Diego. But this doesn't hit you with that rich cheesy taste. It's more just creamy, and then you get hit with bread. So it's almost like you're dipping bread in chicken Alfredo, and there's no
Ooh,
noodle.
I don't know about that. Yeah, I don't know about that because the thing
Next,
with Alfredo is it's already a pasta. You know what I mean? So it's like there's pasta that's already going to fill you up because that's a carb, and then you have cheese. So it's like I don't know
but
that's
this
already
is a
going to fill
pizza,
you up.
man. This is a
Yeah, I
pizza.
don't know,
Even
but
then,
like
I'll only have like a slice or two, and I'll save the rest like over time until I finish it all. But no, next time we hang, Diego, I'll order myself my chicken Alfredo pizza, and I'll
Jesus.
let you try it, bro, because it's an experience in itself.
yeah, it sounds like an experience. It sounds like a bad experience, but I'll
That
try it
sounds
with you.
it sounds like it
Speaking,
would cost a lot too.
no, it costs the same as a normal pizza, bro. You just take out the
Oh,
marinara and put in chicken Alfredo sauce.
mm,
It's great, dude.
okay.
I promise. Next time we hang, when this shit is over, I'll order this thing and we'll try it.
Uh,
Oh, before we go any further, I need to commemorate this brand new podcast with our signature sound.
Hi.
Yeah.
hey.
Alrighty,
Yeah.
alrighty, go ahead.
So to now that we're talking about pizza, I was reminiscing about high school today. Just because I was like, damn, I'm pretty fat. I wish I was skinny like I was back in the day. And so I started thinking about like all the funny times and such. And then I remembered something that my second, not my, I wouldn't say my second favorite, but one of my favorite teachers' funniest experiences. Um, just for the sake of, we name dropped Sheldon. I don't want to name drop any more people, so we're gonna call this guy Mr.
He
Walrus.
he was a king though, all right? So
He
he
was
was
a
a
he
king.
was a king and he was a goat. Um, but we're gonna call him Mr. Walrus for today.
That's fucked
Mr.
up.
What would you rather me call him, Joel?
We for the sake of the story, let's just call him Mr. Pizza.
Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. We'll call him Mr. Pizza.
Yeah, that felt like a personal attack.
Hey,
Yeah,
Mister, it's fine. It's fine.
I just don't want him like hearing this. I'm gonna put it out there. He is a big man, and it might be a little
He
disrespectful
knows.
to call him a walrus.
He knows. Yeah, I was gonna say. I was like, man, Pedro went out with the attack immediately.
Listen, listen, listen. He's the goat. I love him.
He's great. Yeah, let's. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
So I mean, this story isn't gonna help, but I was walking down the hallway, and it was almost like an empty hallway. Almost everyone had left the building that we were in, and so it was just me and one of my friends talking as we were leaving. And he's walking behind us, and out of nowhere, and I say, "Hey, Mr. King, what's up?" Something along those lines. And his response to me was just pizza, 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 and he just walks off. And to this day, that's always been in the back of my head. Like, what did he think I said? Did he think I said something along the lines of, "What are you gonna have today, sir?" Um, but yeah, that was for some reason this whole pizza story reminded me of that time.
Did you just name drop him?
Did I?
And then you said you weren't gonna name drop him.
You immediately were like, okay, we set it up. We set it up. You were like, for the
You had
sake,
one job.
hold on, for the sake of the Sheldon podcast, we're not gonna name drop anybody. Oh, by the way, Mr. King, it's like, oh my gosh, dude, you had one fucking job.
Listen, I bet there's a ton of Mr. Kings out there. It's fine.
It doesn't matter. People fucking know, dude.
I
Regardless,
was I let you finish the story, but I was like, you had one fucking job.
With all due respect, he was an absolute unit. I mean, he was a fucking beast of a man.
given we're not. He was massive as hell, and he every time I went to the gym at like the school gym, he was lifting mad pounds. Like this guy was
Oh
crazy
yeah,
strong.
Exactly.
dude. I remember because Caesar and I had him in essentially like what you could consider the
Homeroom.
homeroom of our school. It was
Yeah.
after lunch, so that period was usually meant for us to like study and travel to other classes that we needed help in. Most of the time, that class was just honestly just time to fuck around. But it was so funny because he would tell us so many funny stories. But I remember at times he would be like, "Oh yeah, I could leg press 400." We're like, "What the hell? Hell no!" But this guy, he would be like, "Do you guys know how much I weigh?" I was like, "I have to walk up these stairs every single day, and it has to hold up my weight." Do you remember that, Caesar? When he would be like,
Yeah.
"Yeah," and I was like, "You know what? That's true." Because theoretically, like this man, like Diego said, is a unit. So I believe that he was in the gym lifting mad weights.
Mans knew he was heavy, and he was like, "Nah, bro, this I could carry my weight, literally."
Yeah,
I
he's like, "I could
given
leg press you all, motherfuckers."
given I bet like his like his BMI is probably like mad low, to be fair, because again this guy's strong as hell.
Well, Basmod, or what is it? Body mass index,
Yeah,
BMI.
body mass index.
It would be high, right?
Yeah, it would be a high body mass index
I
because
thought
he was overweight. The BMI is like a chart based on your weight and how that correlates to your health. But the BMI index chart is kind of it's become sorry, I don't mean to like drop all this weird ass knowledge that I
no, you're good.
remember, but it's kind of become irrelevant over time because it depends on it just counts the amount of weight that you are. It doesn't count whether that weight is due to muscle mass or to actual like fat. So because it doesn't track that, it kind of become like depending on who you are as a person and what your weight is, like realistically, it doesn't matter. So you could be 200 pounds and like 5'8", but if you're 200 pounds of muscle, the BMI it doesn't apply to you. Whereas if you're 200 pounds of fat, that would apply to you. If that makes sense.
I
But yeah,
remember and I know 100% what you're talking about, Diego. And I remember a doctor telling me that because he was trying to see why, like, because I'm overweight as well, but this was like back in like high school, so I wasn't as overweight. But he told me like, oh, it's just because you're a big guy, so this doesn't mean that you're unhealthy. I'm like, no, sir, it means I'm unhealthy.
Yeah, it's one of those things where they have the chart up in like the doctor's offices when you go and sit in there and stuff, but it doesn't correlate correctly anymore. Like if you're a bodybuilder and you look at the BMI chart, like obviously you know that you're not obese, but obviously if you weren't, like 0% body fat, you would know that you are obese. But it's just one of those things. But yeah, as far as like this specific teacher came, yeah, he was definitely he had like a beer belly, like a massive beer belly, but you knew that he had the arms to make up for it.
No, no, no. It's because I was scared to punch that beer belly dude. I was scared that I would punch it and it would feel like a sandbag, not like a jiggly ting. Like there was muscle in there.
Oh, I guarantee you. I mean, if he was like, see, that's the thing is when it comes to like weightlifting, you don't want to be. Granted, I can't speak to it myself because I mean I can't lift for shit. But just from what I've seen, I know that the the biggest, like the heaviest bodybuilders on the planet usually have like a belly and not a six pack because they use that belly for support. So I can only imagine that the reason Mr. that this teacher was able to lift so much and so much well enough is because he had that as like a support on him.
Yes, yes. Mechanical engineer Joel here. Force over area is equal to stress. If you increase the area of where that force is being applied, then the stress decreases, which is why it would be a good idea to have your abdomen as wide as possible. Therefore, the vertical stresses wouldn't be as high.
So now
And
convert
that
that.
has
So now just to kind of like make that to where people can understand it, the stress being the weight that this teacher would be lifting, the abdomen would be what in that equation?
The Sorry, repeat your question.
So because what you just said right now, dumb that
hmm
down.
Okay, so essentially, the stress is the pressure that your body feels. It actually has the same unit as pressure. So essentially, it would be you have a force. The way I can pinpoint it, it's like, for example, if I go up to you with a knife, the knife is a lot finer. It has a smaller area.
Yes.
So if I push on you with a normal pressure or normal force, chances are it's going to go through you because it's super fine and the area is super small. And
Yeah.
since it's a force over a small number, then that increases. But for example, if I have like a log, for example, I'm able to lift it, but I hit you with that same force because the area is so big, it's likely that it won't go through you as opposed to a knife.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And so for that reason, if you widen up your area, then you will feel less pressure. Thus, being able to use your muscles more because you're not in so much pain.
Exactly. So
But
somebody that's
I've seen
yeah,
some of these bodybuilders bleed through their fucking eyes and ears, dude.
Dude, it's so scary when they do that.
Yeah.
Jesus.
They
it's
fucking
insane.
faint as soon as they get to like knee level, let go. Like people like rush at them because they're gonna catch them because they're gonna fucking faint.
Yeah, exactly. To back to my point, which is why you see, like, I mean, granted, I don't know, I do go on like a loop, like a deep hole of watching people just lift stuff. But when it comes to bodybuilding, if it's not for like mad gains and to look like jacked, you need to have support because if you don't have that support, you're just gonna you're gonna crumble like under yourself because you don't have anything to hold that up. So it's just one of those things where it's like, yes, this individual was hefty looking, but he could probably crush your head like a watermelon in his hands. It was
Oh
insane.
yeah, he
Yep,
he was a powerhouse. He's a powerhouse.
Oh,
yep.
absolutely.
And that was body dynamics from Diego and Joel. Thanks for Thanks for listening. Don't remember to remember to read chapter 4 after tomorrow's lecture.
I
And
like how
test
you
you on
started.
what stress is defined as.
I fucking love how you started as don't remember to like don't remember this at all.
listen,
It doesn't
listen, bro.
matter.
When I was in college, or when I'm still going to college, but when I had lectures, they would always be like, "Hey, remember to read this so and so, whatever." And I would never do that shit. And as an engineer now, I'm ashamed of doing that. But like 15 minutes
What?
before class, I would
No
skim the
engineer is
fuck
ashamed of not reading the book. What do you mean, Caesar?
You're
out.
just like
I'm
well,
What's
through
wrong with you?
through
I'm
one
in
year and right out the other.
yeah, I'm in my senior year of mechanical engineering, and not once have I read the book to actually like read and understand something. It's always just like, oh shit, what's that formula again? And you just fucking flip through the pages to look for it. That's all.
Yeah, mechanical engineering on your end, but software engineering, like, yo, you gotta know at least the definition of fucking words and what the
Uh,
fuck and how to use them and when to use them. So that's why I was like, okay,
what? Yeah,
I
I
should
mean,
probably read up on that.
there's a lot of jargon when it comes to mechanical engineering, but it's funny.
And
I go ahead, Diego.
I was just going to say, ladies and gentlemen, if you thought we've reached the boring portion of the podcast, you've seen nothing yet. Go ahead.
Okay, so actually, this isn't so boring, but I remember my first few years of going through engineering school. Um, it's it definitely changes your perspective on the world around you. Like, you just discussed the bodybuilder, and it's funny how my mind naturally went to be like, oh, forces and shit. Before, I didn't care about anything, but I think it has come at a cost because like I'll be like like right now we're in a totally normal conversation, and I'll be like, well, actually, this is how it works, and some people are like, man, motherfucker, just let things be. But I remember it was in my class of like structural mechanics, like supports and everything, and obviously one big topic was bridges, overpasses, and even like you see the cranes that you see during like construction, like the big ones. We had to analyze the frames and everything. But I was always paranoid when I would drive under an underpass because I would think, yo, did the other engineer fucking calculate the forces the way they should be? So I remember sometimes, I think it was like for like a month or two while I was in those classes, I would avoid driving through roads that had underpasses because I was like, yo, if I had to design a bridge right now, I wouldn't trust myself. And there's some dudes that go through engineering that just leech off other people, and it's possible that they get into the public sector and design these things. If you guys haven't, look at, I think it's the Tacoma Narrows Bridge. It's this literally wind knocked this thing down. Yeah. So
That
they
is
built it. They
terrifying.
built it, and then wind fucking took it down. A dog died, dude. He was on the bridge. It's fucking terrifying. But I remember I would avoid driving under underpasses because I was like, I do not trust any other man designing these underpasses. But
I remember when I started driving, and right after I watched the first Transformers movie. In that movie, they like destroy the loops of the freeways, and when I started driving, I would purposely avoid it because I had a fear of like driving off of it or hitting something, and then I had to swerve and fucking you know
yeah,
get
dude,
falling from that fucking loop.
to get to school for my first 2 years of college, for you guys know, of course, but I just want to put it out there. My first 2 years of post secondary school was I went to community college just because it's cheaper. Not that I couldn't make it to the university. But as soon as those 2 years were over, I am now attending the big university here in Arizona. But whilst I was in college, the drive there when I had to go eastbound on the I-17 to or from I-10 to get onto I-17 north, there's that loop. And while I was studying for this class, like I said, I completely avoided them. I was almost really scared of them for a moment because, like I said, I didn't trust anybody. I think the problem was I didn't trust the people I knew around me, like you see some of these dudes and they're straight up fucking dumbasses, dude. And I'm like, yo, some of these guys are gonna become engineers. Like, what are the chances that the guy who also designed this and the people who were designing it aren't also straight up dumbasses?
That's I can kind of apply that to like nursing and doctors as well because I'm assuming that a lot, not assuming, but I've seen a lot of cases where some really stupid people get into the medical field, and that absolutely scares me. Even if it's something as little as maybe like an RN or a dental assistant. Um, if you don't, if I feel like if I go into like a dentist office and the nursing assistant can't, or the dentist assistant can't name all the tools, I will walk out. But of course, I don't have the balls to ask them those kind of questions. I just go in and assume that they know what they're doing. But there's a lot of times where like I'll go to doctor appointments or I'll go to hospitals. I'm like, I really hope you paid attention in the medical field.
Yeah, it's like I'm gonna put this pokey thing in you, and I'm gonna inject this
Liquid.
life liquid that will
Wha-
prevent you
What
from getting sick.
what are there's the actual technical term for someone who draws your blood? I know there's an actual
Phlebotomist, I think.
specific. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
I'm not even gonna attempt to
Damn,
pronounce that.
that was
Yeah,
good. Cool.
I
yeah, I
got you,
knew it was
boy.
something with the yeah, I knew what it was, but I didn't want to attempt to fucking say it because I just know I'm just gonna miss it. But I know a lot of people in high school that are now currently Joel. What's the term again?
Phlebotomist.
Phlebotomist.
Phlebotomist. Gotcha.
Phlebotomist. There you go.
I hope I'm saying that
And
right.
yeah, I feel like you are because
I'll
Yeah,
you
I
said
can
it.
I can confirm as a resident major reader, that is absolutely the correct term.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I know a lot of girls that were super. I'm not. I don't want to be too fucked up, but I know they were super silly, and now they're in charge of doing that. I don't know how I would feel if I walked into my doctor's office and I saw some girl from high school that I knew, probably got trained for like 3 weeks to do this, and now is gonna insert this huge needle into my vein. I don't know.
Not
I,
not
I
only
Yeah.
not only is she inserting that needle into your vein, she's drawing your liquids from your own body into a tube to be tested. So it's one of those things where you have to really think like, okay, I'm putting my faith in you. Like this is ridiculous. But hey, you know
Yeah,
what? This is why we have trained professionals to train the newer professionals of the future.
you know, I
yeah, just
I
convert him
wanted
into.
to elaborate on uh the whole phlebotomy thing. Um, you guys, I think you guys know, but I, for a very long time, was like terrified of needles. I
Yep.
Yeah, I wouldn't like just be like, oh man, I can't do this. I would literally faint, and I would have seizures essentially. I
Jeez.
yeah, my brain shut off so hard that I had, I think I had one or two seizures. But it's so funny because you mentioned, Caesar, how there's these all these girls that are phlebotomists, or they prick you with the vaccine. I remember this one time there was this fat dude. He had to give me 3 shots. I forget what they were. I think I was 13 or 14 at the time. But my dude was like massive. His hands were fucking fat as hell too. I was like,
Oh
not
no.
not only am I gonna faint because I'm scared of this, but this is gonna hurt. And this guy gives me the first vaccine, and I'm like, I almost need to be like bound down, but I'm not fighting him. Like I'm restraining myself essentially. And at first, the needle can't go in because I'm so tense. I actually start bleeding, and I finally I loosen. It sounds funny, but I relax and I loosen up and everything. But he gives me the first shot,
Relájate, mi rey.
and I don't feel it. Like I didn't feel a
You went numb.
single thing. No, no, no. I didn't feel it. He was so good at his job that I didn't feel it.
Yo, I fucked with those
Oh.
Yeah,
people.
and
There's
it's
some
so,
people.
sorry, Caesar, but I just wanted to wrap it up. But it's funny because he is so big. I'm gonna think he's gonna hurt me. His hand is gonna be heavy. You know, like, oh, you're gonna want a female to do this. Someone who's a little bit more finer with their movements. This guy was the absolute opposite when you look at him, right? But he was like
As gentle as can be.
as gentle as he can be, exactly. And from there on out, I actually started losing my fear for needles because this guy was such he did such a good job with his job that was actually what triggered me from like, you know what? It's not that bad. That was the first time I didn't fucking faint or have a seizure.
Yo, shout out to all the big nurses out there. Let's go.
Yeah, shout out to him, dude. It was funny though because he was like a straight up Cubano and like he's massive, dude. And you know, you see that he's out with his like navy blue scrubs and he had the fat ass like Cuban chains just straight up like hanging out. And I'm like,
Oh yeah.
yo, this boy, he he's making bank, all right?
Hey
He's like,
Joe.
oye, chico, ¿estás listo para esto?
Hey
Oye,
Joe.
chico, mira, te voy a meter esto por aquí, tú te vas a agarrar por allá y me vas a agarrar duro y no va a pasar nada, chico, ¿ok?
You want un cafecito? Ahora?
Oye,
Hey Joel, let's go get tattoos.
no, all right. I don't want to offend you, Pedro, because at least as far as I know, you're the only one with tattoos right now.
Yeah,
Um,
out of us, yes.
yeah,
That y'all know.
I think Diego will eventually get one. I'm not so sure about Caesar, but
Absolutely, you know it, my brother.
yeah, I know. I
No.
myself I'm not about like the pain or the needles or anything, but I just don't see the point into tattoos. I'm happy you guys do, and I'm happy that you guys have something that bears at least somewhat significance that you'll want to put it on your body forever. But personally, I'm fine with what I have, and I don't want to mark myself in any permanent way.
Right, right. And 100% and on paper, like I'm pretty sure if we explained tattoos to like a caveman, it would make no absolute sense by all means.
No, not at all,
Um,
because they were drawing on walls, not on themselves.
I was gonna say you just inadvertently called Joel a caveman, but go ahead.
no, hell no, dude. Joel's no caveman. Nah, but to answer the question, the reason, at least I personally, the reason I wanted my tattoos, was because they meant something to of extreme significance. Um, Basically, they're almost reminders to me. For those who don't know, I have a cross on my ankle, and the reason I got the cross was because I was getting way too ahead of myself. I was getting, my head was in the clouds.
Just
Um,
doing coke every day,
yeah, like the meth needles weren't working anymore.
Stop. That is not true. That is not true at all. Stop it.
You
My
see,
nose
the
wasn't
problem
recording
was you
anymore.
didn't elaborate that it was an upside down cross.
Exactly.
That sounds cross.
Exactly.
It's the Antichrist.
Yeah, and I had to do so much research for that. But no, a lot of people associate it as Saint Peter's cross. The reason it's upside down is because the Roman emperor was like, nah, he's not Jesus. Let's not crucify him like normal. Let's crucify him upside down. And Saint Peter was like, yes, do it upside down because I am not. He accepted that, and I always found that as just a way of humbling someone. Um, the reason, and again, it's just a reminder of me for myself to kind of keep my head low, not keep my head low, but like stay grounded basically.
Yeah, don't
Um,
get too ahead of yourself,
exactly. I'm
Simon.
not invincible. I'm not, you know what I mean. Like I can still get in trouble. I can still get hurt.
Yeah, which is a
Um,
good mentality because you're not resistant to any change or anything. A lot of people feel like they're like, you know what? Nothing is ever gonna touch me. They're on this cloud nine,
hmm
and then when they get hit really hard. The
extremely
fall
hard.
really hurts, and I feel like if you don't project that you're 10 stories above where you really are, then the fall, sure, it's still gonna hurt, but it's not gonna kill you.
hmm Yeah, you'll survive. Maybe a broken toe or something.
Hmm.
Broken
But
toe.
yeah, no. To answer the question, I agree with you, Joel, in the sense of stupid tattoos.
Oh yeah,
Um, but at the same time, there's a lot of people's stupid tattoos that have so much significance towards it. Like you'll see some people who just have little legit, chicken scratches on their arm, or like a really shitty drawing on on somewhere on their leg or whatever. But really, like they'll say something once you ask them, like, "Yo, why the fuck is there a chicken scratch?" They'll say something along the lines of, "Oh, it was the only thing that my daughter drew before she died," or
Oh
something
shit. Yeah,
extremely
yeah.
dark like that. You know what I mean? Um, so
Yeah, I've like let's assume like for example, I hope this doesn't happen to me or any of us, but I've seen some tattoos of some like parents when their newborn dies like hours into labor,
mhm.
they get the EKG like signature of the baby's heart and then they tattoo it on themselves, which I think is really cool.
Right. A lot of people that's a good meaning to be
Yeah,
able
I
to.
hope they never had to do that, you know, but
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's a good way
absolutely.
to hold
Knock
on
on
to
wood,
that,
dude.
yeah.
Knock on wood. But yeah, no, 100% agree.
Yeah, to kind of go off of what Pedro was saying, you mentioned that I eventually am gonna get some. Yes, they are. I mean, eventually, because goddamn, they're fucking expensive. Um, but it's one of those things where, to me, someone who is so into music and is so into trying to create my own music and is into art in general, to me it is another form of expressing myself. So it 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 has to have some significance to me in order to put it on my body, and it's going to be one of those things that every time I look at it, I'm going to feel something, and that feeling is going to correlate to this one piece of artwork on my skin, and it's going to be there for life, and I'm going to feel that emotion every single time I look at it. And so yes, like I do agree that there are like so many people that just get random shit on themselves for honestly no good reason at all. But
And given,
Tramp
no
stamps.
no shame, no shame to them. If that's what they dig, that's what they dig. But
I
Oh
mean,
yeah, it's their
yeah,
decision
yeah,
at the end of the day.
exactly. But yeah, for the most part, I have to say that like whatever is going to be inked on my body is because it has had such an impact on my life, and it's had such an impact on my mind that I choose for it to be on my body for life. And it's one of those things where you said at the very beginning, I feel that my body is fine as it is. For some people, and for me especially, I don't think that my body is good as it is now. So it's like I view a tattoo or something like that as something that will make me feel better about myself, and something that I will look at and think, oh, okay, this makes me feel a certain emotion that I didn't feel just looking at that blank spot before. So it's one of those things that not only will it give me that same emotion looking at it, but it'll give me a sense of accomplishment and a sense of like, okay, I feel 100% with myself now seeing this on my body.
yeah,
Yeah,
I
that
can I could have said it better.
I agree. Yeah, it'll I don't know, like inspire you, should I say? Um, like it'll be like a motto that you're living by. But I find that that's not even then that's not a valid reason for me to put it on my body because
Mm.
I could write it somewhere else. I can make it my fucking wallpaper. Which chances are I'm gonna look at my phone before I look at my chest when I wake up, and I could see that first, or shit, the alarm that I'm listening to could be that motto or whatever it is. Obviously, if it's something more visual, maybe not so much, but you could have a fucking poster like right across your fucking
A
your
workstation or something.
yeah, or something that you're like. Let's say you like Diego. You said you want to create art and are creating art. I think it would be better if I was in that situation to somehow stamp whatever I want you want to get tattooed onto your guitar or something on the amp that you'll see a little bit more often while you're creating art. But that's myself.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where it's all subjective, right? Like you have to put it into perspective of like, okay, what is it that I enjoy? What is it that I can feel um, can kind of support my message? Like, what is the outlet that I need and the outlet that I support? And for some people, that is, their own skin is not that. But for others, for Pedro as an example, who already has tattoos, for me that is planning on getting some tattoos, that is an outlet to their creativity and to their inspirations. Um, so yeah, I for sure agree. It's just it's one of those things where it comes from a mindset of like, what is it that's gonna make me truly feel this emotion, whether
Hmm.
it be like on my skin or not.
Yeah,
It's just one of those things.
yeah. I guess it's a way to make it almost literally part of you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Caesar, would you get a tattoo?
No, just for the straight fact that I'm always constantly changing my mind. Sure, there's always like stuff that I always value and that stays constant with me. But like for example, cars, I'm always every like 3 hours, I'm like, or every 3 weeks, I'm like, yo, I'm into this type of car, I'm in this type of car. Um, I don't think I'd be able to make the decision of like, yo, I want this on this part of my body, permanently marked. And I don't think I could be able to do that. And I also don't find the need to do that. If it's that important to me, I'm pretty sure that it's always at a, you know, I'm gonna know it's important to me. I don't really want people looking at stuff that's important to me, because I feel like people look at people with tattoos, and it's fucked up to say, and it's fucked up that people are like this, but people with tattoos do get a certain, other people view them as a certain type of person or a certain type of society. So it's a
Hmm.
bad correlation, and I just don't want that, and I don't
Yeah,
agree with that type of stuff.
I feel like there's a dual mentality. We might see those people as like, I don't want to offend anybody, but we see someone with tattoos and we're like, "Ooh, they're trashier than a person who doesn't have them." But I've seen some people simply get tattoos for some sort of redemption or like social media clout. It's like, "Hey, I have this tattoo. Now I can nonstop post about my fucking tattoo on social media." And I'm like, "Okay, great. Show me it the first time. It looks pretty sick, but I don't want to see it every like 3 times a week."
Yeah,
I
it's interesting. Sorry, Pedro. It's interesting that you mentioned that because a good example, not so much the social media clout, but as far as a person that just kind of gets the tattoo simply as an art form to appreciate is my mother. She has Asian tattoos on her arms. She has a koi fish on her left arm and a dragon, a Chinese dragon on her right arm. And they're beautiful pieces. I mean, I think I've showed all of you. I don't remember, but they are like exquisite, like
they should.
professional. Yeah, they're
Yeah, I've
professional pieces.
I've met your mom in person several times, and they look fucking badass, dude.
Yeah, and my mother is, I mean, Jesus, for all intents and purposes, a force to be reckoned with. Like she is the hardest worker I will probably ever know in my life, and it's one of those things where it's like she got those because she appreciated the art enough that she said to herself, "This is something that I want on my body because I want to appreciate it every single second." And to this day, ever since she got both, I look at her arms all the time and I'm like, oh my gosh, those are so sick, And it's one of those things where it's like I I am of the side of the side of the argument that like tattoos should mean something, but obviously to her those tattoos mean something, but they also look so good and they they make her appreciate herself more because I mean she can look at those every single day and think, oh my gosh, these are pieces of artwork on my body that I can appreciate every single day of my life until death. It's just one of those things.
and she
Another
and she's won
reason.
awards for those, hasn't she?
Oh yeah, she won. She got the Chinese dragon second. and I think she won like second place at like a state award here in Arizona for like the best traditional Chinese tattoo. But yeah,
Dude,
Shit. Yeah, one of the reasons I also don't want to get them because I've always heard that not that I want one, I don't want one, but I've heard, and maybe you guys can tell me if it's true or not. I've heard that once you get a tattoo, you can't donate blood.
not true.
that is a myth. Yeah, you can. You obviously can't donate blood for like a certain period of time because the ink is still circulating in your
For
body
6 months.
for
Yep.
6 months. But after
Oh
6 months, you can
shit.
donate.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah,
I was like,
it's a total myth.
yeah. I looked. I believe that as well. And I was like, dude, I don't want to be in a position where I can't donate blood if I need to. So
yeah,
I absolutely looked into that, and yeah, it's 6 months. In some states, it's a whole year, but for the majority, it's 6 months.
Yeah, it's. I feel like unfortunately, Joel mentioned it earlier briefly, where people okay, so not all people, right? But there is a stigma. There's a unhealthy and negative stigma towards people with tattoos because for the most part, if it's not a wonderful, like absolutely priceless work of art on a piece on somebody's body, it's like it's some horrible prank tattoo or something that you see all the time like in the media or on TV or whatever. But I feel like for people, and I feel like I can put myself a part of this group because of people like my mother and my stepfather who has two full sleeves of tattoos, who know what tattoos truly can stand for. There's always going to be those two sides, but further and further, like as I grow older, I understand that people, that stigma is slowly going away, right? And even then, like when you look at history, when you trace it back to like tribes in Africa where they literally mark themselves with they're not tattoos because obviously they didn't necessarily have ink, but they're cuts of like skin grafts on their body that make up
Scar
design.
tattoos.
Yeah, scar tattoos. Thank you. Um, it's a piece of history. So that's essentially what you're creating on your body is a piece of history in time to look back upon and look back upon in pictures and in memories and think like, oh, okay, this is a moment in time. So it's just one of those things where it's really interesting how it's either you're with it or you're totally against it. It's bizarre.
Yeah, and I've met like my fair share of people who have that same mentality. Like they either like my mom. I actually converted my mom once I got my first tattoo, which is a crown because she always calls me Principe, and so I figured that would be my first tattoo because I love my mom. Um, at first she was so against tattoos. Now she helps me pick out tattoos. My next tattoo was supposed to be a Pokemon because I'm such a huge Pokemon lover. Um, and at first she was like, "You better not get a single Pikachu tattooed onto you." Um, but now she's like really about it. Now she appreciates the kind of art that it can bring, especially when I show her all the ideas that I have. So there's no lost hope for people who don't like tattoos. I will do everything I can to convince you, Joel, to get one. But I
Oh
will
yeah,
say,
don't get
hundred
me
percent.
wrong. I love tattoos. I think tattoos are fucking cool. Like they are legitimately a form of expression and art. It's just that love for them and that admiration for them isn't there for me so much that I would want it on my body. Like you show me your tattoo, I'd be like, "Whoa, that looks really cool." You showed me like the Mewtwo mock-up. I even helped you sort of
Yeah,
to be like, "All right, look, I like this Mewtwo a little bit better." And you were giving me your reasons as to why you like the other Mewtwo. I get it. Mewtwo's cool, but I was gonna say tattoos are cool. And but like I said, it's just I think my body, my skin is art in a in it of itself, and I shouldn't be um No, I shouldn't. It's not that I shouldn't be able, but I just don't want to write on it.
I guess you make a point there. I agree. If you value, because there's other people that will say, maybe in about 80 years, all these tattoos are gonna look gross. Like look at the freaking Joe Exotic, all his tattoos look horrible.
No,
But
but I mean, if you're happy with them for your entire juvenile life and even into, adulthood, then fucking go for it. Like,
yeah,
if what's the point if you're longing to do something when you're in your prime to do it? It's like, uh, more or less, it's almost like you want children, but you don't want to have them while it's either your body's the most functional to do it, or when you're the most financially stable to do it, and you want to have it after. It's like, no, do it when the time is right.
Yeah, it's just
And
like
if you're in
starting a
it, do it.
business.
yeah, I agree.
It's funny. It's almost like starting a family. Like you said, it do it when you're financially right. I imagine like, hey, start a family when you have enough money to make sure that you can support a child. That's funny.
It's like, I got half a rack. Is that enough?
Right? Yeah,
Perfect.
it's insane. But yeah,
Damn tattoos.
yeah. I don't know. It's one of those things where they are ridiculously expensive. If you can find somebody that does them on the cheap and does them well, that's great. But
Why don't we just get all prison tattoos? Let's
oh
like
my god, we
Oh
should
go.
get a
God.
clan
I would
tattoo.
I would
Let's just
love.
go fight in person and just get inked up at the fucking Phoenix County Jail or
Get a
Maricopa County
clan
We
Jail.
tattoo.
Let's just all
When
get
I
the
worked at
logo.
McDonald's, there was this fucking kid that literally worked overtime to buy himself a tattoo machine, and he would like on his days off, he would literally just doodle on himself.
Yeah,
Literally doodle
I
on
respect those
himself.
people.
Yeah, that's fine,
I've
but he
seen.
didn't do it correctly. He
Yeah,
got infections all over his left arm.
yeah, Caesar. I've seen this like really big tattoo artist. I think his name is like Bang or something. But he's tattooed some pretty badass people, and it's funny because they interviewed him. I think it was like, uh, what is it? GQ, like the men's thing,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
the magazine. Yeah, they interviewed him, and it was a video on YouTube. But they showed all his tattoos on his arms, and some of them are legit fucking doodles. They look like ass, and he acknowledges that they look like ass. But he says that,
Who
uh,
did you say it was?
as Bang. He's tattooed some pretty cool people. I don't. I'm really not sure. I think his name is Bang Bang.
I'm looking it up right now. Bang bang, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So there was the interview with him. Yeah. So just looking at his Wikipedia right now, he's known for his work with Rihanna, Katy Perry, Justin Bieber, LeBron James, Miley Cyrus, Adele, Kylie
We
Jenner.
can't we can't afford all those names that this guy just dropped.
Yeah. So there's some pretty big people, but it's funny because they're like, hey, what do your tattoos mean? And obviously some of them had meaning, but the ones that to to an untrained eye, we look at them and they just look like doodles. It's just that he's of that mentality. If he's gonna write on somebody else, he needs to perfect his craft on himself before he writes on somebody else.
God damn.
Yeah,
Okay, see that's pretty dope.
yeah. So I
That's like
thought it was pretty sick that he's like, I won't write on somebody else until I'm able to get it right on myself, which is obviously why he's that badass of a tattoo artist.
it's like doing photography, man. You're not going to start charging people for your photography until you know that your stuff is up there and it's
Mhm.
it's really good, you know? It's the same mentality I do when people offer me to, hey, can you do, my party or the one thing I had a
Weren't you
friend.
offered once for like a wedding or something, or a
Yeah,
quinceañera?
for it was a quinceañera and a wedding. I did the quinceañera. I didn't do the wedding just for the fact that I found out the person who contacted me told me that there was going to be a legit photographer, and I've done graduations, and all I ask is if there's going to be another legit photographer. Usually, I'm the guy that like takes the pictures and gives you those pictures literally like 4 or 5 hours after the event. That's why people usually hit me up. And I'm cool with that because I get experience. I don't charge, obviously. I'm just happy to get the experience, and then I don't have to worry about if I fuck up. Then the guy that actually is getting paid, he got the shot. Okay, cool. But they reached out to me saying, "Hey, could you do this and that?" And I told them, I'm like, "Listen, my skill level is not that great. I'm comfortable not charging as long as I know there's a legitimate photographer." And I agreed. And this went on for about 2 months. We started talking. I started talking with the actual person, the actual girl getting married, and then I found out that there was no legitimate photographer, that I was the only one shooting. And that's why I kind of panicked. Now looking back, I shouldn't have, but I panicked and I was like, no, I don't really trust my skill yet to do, because they were like, we'll pay you what we're gonna pay the other guy. And I think they wanted to give the other guy like $600 or $700. And I was like, no, I cannot. That's like too much responsibility on my shoulders, and I don't trust myself that much yet.
Yeah, Caesar, I kind of have a story. Well, it's very similar. It was obviously at a wedding too. It was my girlfriend's brother's wedding, which was, I think it was during the summer of 2018, and they have a DSLR, and I am familiar enough or willing enough to like actually like learn on it on the fly and everything. And I was taking pictures of them, but I remember asking him, I'm like, hey, I'm not the only one taking pictures, right? Because some of these are going to be completely bad. The ISO is going to
Straight
be off.
ass.
The focus is going to be off. It's like
Yeah, man.
if any of these images look nice and look cool, then I am happy and glad that I have taken those images. But by no means do I want to be the main photographer. It's super cool. They one of their family friends, he reached out. Well, even then he was going to attend the wedding, but it was super cool of him that he decided to take his DSLR, dude. Caesar, he had like a 1 to 2 foot, um what is it, the lens.
Was it
Yeah,
like a
it was.
17 to
Yeah,
300
dude, it
lens?
was absolutely massive, and I have like, it was like a 6-inch lens, dude, and he's
Yeah,
getting real close into things, and I'm like, okay, this is good. He knows what he's doing. He's gonna take some
yeah.
really nice pictures.
Bro, when it gets to that point when those big lenses come out, they're not even considered lenses. Those are considered glass because that's all it is, man. It's
It's a
just like
fucking cannon, dude.
it's a glass
Y-
all in there. It's just
You know
like,
what's super
Jesus.
cool though? That they didn't have anybody else other than me to do this. He My girlfriend's brother has a DJI drone,
Yep.
and so when they were reading their vows, I was supposed to hover the drone a little bit over them. Notice, I want to make this clear. I had never driven that drone until half an hour before they started reading their vows, dude. I was scared. I
That's
was like, I
tricky.
am gonna mess this up. Yeah, no, it was really hard, and the I only had practice, like I said, for half an hour, but I was still getting used to it. He didn't fully tell me the controls. There was this you were able to control the actual angle of the camera, and I wasn't able to actually angle it towards them. And so what I had to do was drop my height and get a little bit closer to them instead of focusing on the actual camera and moving the camera down instead of the actual drone. So for like a couple of minutes, some people were looking over at me. They were like, they were signaling like, move back, because apparently I didn't find this out until after uh, he told me. He was like, "Hey, yeah, for the first like 5 or so minutes, you were really close." I was like, "We couldn't hear each other read our vowels, so we had to tell you to back off." And I was like, "Fuck!" I felt so bad, dude.
Yeah. I bet.
Could you imagine though? You get a drone flyer who's never driven a drone. You give him half an hour to practice. It's like he's bound to mess it up a little bit.
Shoot the shit, roll the dice, my
It's
guy.
one of those things where it's like it's trial and error. You know,
Yeah.
they can't blame you entirely because they knew that they were putting you on the spot.
Yeah,
But
I was
at
so
least
excited though. I had never driven a
e-
drone of that caliber. It's
exactly, you got that
yeah,
experience. It's funny you mentioned photography. I have to mention just for transparency, I stepped away for a second just to go to the bathroom because me, I'm drinking beer. We're all drinking beer. At least I hope so. Y'all better be fucking drinking with
Yes,
me. God damn it.
yes.
Sir,
So
I know
Seagrams.
it.
I had to go pee. Come on, let's be honest. We all gotta go pee.
I'm drinking a
You know.
sangria.
Joel, the under the 20-year old. But
Yes.
but yeah, we my oldest sister, inspiration. She she took photography classes, and I'll make this quick because I know we're like on the wrap up. But she took photography classes back when at our same high school that we all four went to. When they first introduced a photography class, when we went there wasn't even a photography class in existence.
Yeah.
It was so short lived, but yeah, that's where she got all of her experience from, and she tells me stories all the time of like learning. Um, so just for context, I know that no, we were all in that same French room, right? The classroom where
Yes.
we did French.
No, no. You three were. I wasn't. Um. You guys were second year French
Really?
students, and I had barely started taking my first year.
Interesting. Okay,
Yeah.
so
That's what I thought.
You Joel must have taken it in a different classroom, but I know that Pedro, Caesar, and I did it in the same classroom. Man, that's another story in and
Oh,
of itself.
Hell yeah, dude.
Je
But
voudrais un sandwich.
that is for the next one. So if you two remember Caesar and Pedro, there is a
it's a
development
dark
room.
room.
Yeah, there's a
Yeah,
dark room. Thank you.
Yes.
That
it's
was
a
where
dark room.
my sister stood in that very same room, actually developing pictures. Um, when she went to high school, gosh,
I
maybe
always wondered what that room was for. Everyone
yeah,
just said the dark room, and it sounded really shady. And
yeah,
I,
that's where you would like develop professional grade
yeah.
DSLR pics. And so that's where my oldest sister went like a decade ago, like a decade and some years ago. And
DSLR is digital. Just an FYI.
whatever the fuck it is, you know what I mean. I'm a little I'm getting there. I'm drinking my Modelo over here, but she but yeah, so it's one of those things where it's like it's all about experience, and she happened to get some training. I can't imagine the teacher at the time was a hardcore professional in photography, but you guys mentioned that, and
Oh,
it's
not
like,
at all.
oh, absolutely, especially if they're teaching at a fucking high school. But it's like,
Yeah, considering we were living through the prime of our high school, because it
We were there for
while
that.
we were there, and that's not like how a lot of people are like, man, generations after us are ass. No, it was legitimate. We allowed the school to be an A plus ranked school, and we kept that title for the entire time we were there. I
yeah,
asked my
it was
brother,
like,
who actually goes there now, and I'm like, "Hey, are you guys still that rating?" And they're like, "No, we lost it."
Oh
yeah,
my god.
yeah. I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised.
It was also because you had to have a certain grade level to even get in.
Yeah.
And we were the last generation to go through that metric. Or actually I think the generation before us. But they were the last ones to go through that metric, and ever since then, all the stupid kids started going to Metro and they messed it all up.
But yeah, basically
Yeah.
to wrap it all up on my I get what you guys mean. It's interesting because it's like you, Caesar, and Joel. Forgive me, Pedro, if you mention anything, but I know that it's like you guys are talking about this type of photography. I mean, Joel, you just mentioned recording on a drone, and it's like I think of my oldest sister telling me stories of like when she was trying to shoot like a wedding as like in our age with like just a normal camera, and how hard that was for her, and how much of a challenge that was for her. And
Dude, I feel I can keep going on that, but
yeah, and it's like
well, we'll save
how
that.
parallel the two stories are, but with just different technology. It's just it's interesting. It's all
Yeah.
relative. But yeah, to wrap it all up, life life is it's an experience, man. It's just
It's
a
like a box of
Yeah.
chocolates.
it's life is like a box of chocolates. But yeah, it's just a giant experience that we all share together. And I think that is a good place to end it. But as far as ending it, I did want to mention something real quick, ladies and gentlemen. If you didn't already know, we just recently made an Instagram page at Chela Time Podcast. Um, it's got all four of us on there. You can, we've always mentioned in the past, like, hey, this is a place now finally where you can ask us questions, you can offer suggestions, even just send in comments to either the official page on Instagram or ourselves, our own personal accounts, to give us ideas. Um, I've been wanting to, I have some ideas myself of what we can introduce into the podcast. So yeah, give us a shout, give us on some ideas on what we can perfect, on what we can you know talk about. Let us know. We appreciate your feedback. We appreciate the people listening, still to this day, all the way through. We love it. We love to see it. So yeah, I think that is, that's all I gotta say. I don't know if anybody else wants to add anything else.
And in
Nope,
case
I think you're good.
and in case no one's told you today, you are loved.
Thank you, Peter. I love you.
No problem, dog.
Black Lives Matter.
Oh,